Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hope Dealer podcast with Dr. Brian Hooten here. Recently voted by, get this, an international space station conglomerate all got together and said this is the best new healthcare podcast in existence of all time. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about thyroid disorders. If you're struggling with a sluggish thyroid, an overactive thyroid, or any type of thyroid issue, please tune in. My job is to give you ownership of what is really happening to you, because you go to the doctor for these things, or if you go to a chiropractor, or you go to a natural health practitioner of any kind, odds are you're going to get some type of treatment for the thyroid, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the first mistake. Tune in. You're not going to want to miss this, and please, if you know somebody that is dealing with a thyroid disorder, or if you just want to make sure your thyroid is working right, share this. It is one of the most commonly prescribed medications right now in the U.S. is for thyroid issues. I see it all the time on paperwork when people bring their first visit and they're filling out the paperwork. What drugs are you taking? And there's all this, Synthroid and levothyroxine, some type of alternative thyroid medication. And a lot of times, accompanying thyroid disorders, you got headaches, sleep problems, fatigue. Maybe you're going to sleep and sleeping 8 or 9 hours, but you wake up feeling exhausted. All these things are tied in, and if time allows, I'm going to actually touch on how this affects your testosterone and all the other steroid hormones in your body. See, we're all connected in that fashion. So, thyroid. Well, let's talk about what the thyroid actually is. It's a gland up here in your throat. And if you've had your thyroid blood tested, you've seen things like TSH, T3, and T4, and a whole conglomerate of other hormones tested on this thyroid panel. Maybe you've done a metabolic panel and it's got 20 things on there, but this is one of the first glands or organs involved in your metabolic system. It's way up here. So your brain has the pituitary gland, it's got the hypothalamus, and it drops these starting hormones into your thyroid. So let's talk about what the thyroid is and what it does. So think of it as a little factory, and in your factory you're trying to make T3 and T4. Well, you have to have raw materials shipped in. So the TSH comes in to the thyroid, and then the thyroid organ itself goes to town and takes that TSH and converts it into T3 and T4 and a couple other things. But its job is to convert this TSH into T3 and T4. So if you've dealt with any of this, you probably are familiar with at least that part. But do you know what TSH is? What's that thyroid stimulating hormone? Do you actually know what it is made of? Or what about the T3 and T4? Do you know what that is made of? Well, probably not. In simple terms, there's a bunch of carbon, a bunch of oxygen, some nitrogen, and a lot of a certain mineral called iodine. So TSH basically is bringing in this boatload of iodine into your thyroid workshop, which is going to convert that into T3 and T4. And really, the biggest difference between T3 and T4 is that T3 has 3 chunks of iodine, and T4 has 4 chunks of iodine. T3, T4. So what I'm getting at is this iodine is a major part of the process. Now, if you've been given a drug for your thyroid, if you look at the chemical structure of that, you'll see it's a whole lot of iodine stuck together with a whole bunch of other things that your body doesn't want or need. In fact, the side effects of Synthroid or levothyroxine include heart damage, right? So go look that up. And I've never met anybody that has walked in here and said, hey, Dr. Brian, I love taking my thyroid medication. I want to stay on it. That sounds like the greatest piece of advice I've ever been given, is to take this drug for the rest of my life. Nobody's ever said that to me. But when I ask them if they know what Synthroid and levothyroxine are, or any of the other thyroid medications, they really have no idea. And that's how the system works. They don't want you to know. And it's not necessarily the doctor's fault. The doctors don't even know. If you doubt that, go ask the doctor what Synthroid is made of. They are not going to know. In fact, they don't even like answering that question. And if they do know what it is, then odds are they have stopped prescribing it and they're giving you more of the natural iodine. But it's not just about iodine. There's a bigger piece to it. But if you're looking for something you can do to help support your thyroid, you need to come in and talk to us so we can walk you through how your thyroid works, and then you can start supplementing this proper form of iodine. You can't just get iodine off the shelf and throw that in there. That's actually not the bullseye. What I'm going to talk about next is the main thing that's the main thing. So yes, iodine is an important mineral in your body. All the trace minerals are important in your body. But those things will not work. Your thyroid factory won't even work if it's not powered properly. What does that mean? Well, think of it, so the thyroid's a factory, right? It's converting TSH into T3 and T4. Well, it has to have a power supply in order to work, in order for it to convert. Just like any other piece of electronics, if we unplug this light right here, it's going to go off no matter what kind of bulb we put in it, no matter what we surround it with, no matter casing or anything. It has to have a power source. Your thyroid gland, your thyroid organ has to have a power source, just like your testicles, guys, your ovaries, ladies, your heart, your liver, your lungs, any other part of your metabolic system has to have a power supply, and that comes from your brain. Not some weird thought there. Obviously, if you take your brain out, what happens to everything? It dies. You're going to heaven, hopefully. So this is the power supply, and it's connected to your thyroid through the nerves. If you disconnect the nerves from your thyroid, obviously, what's going to happen to the thyroid? It stops working. Well, the analogy I like to use, if you've watched the podcast at all, is think of your thyroid and all of your organs as part of your garden, and your brain is the water supply, the water hose to your garden. Well, if you shut off the water, everything dies. What if you kink the hose? So now the thyroid is not getting all the power or all the water. What happens to your thyroid that way? And really take a second and think of a real plant. So if you have a rose bush in your garden and it's designed to have this perfect amount of water supply, and all of a sudden you take away some of the water by kinking the hose, now the rose bushes that need all this water supply, they're only getting like 90% of the water or 80% of the water. Well, what starts to happen to the leaves and the petals on the rose bushes? They start to wilt. See, if your thyroid is not getting full power from your brain, then it starts to wilt, or it starts to malfunction. It'll slow down. Or in some other cases, it will actually speed up because it's not getting the right information from your brain. Now, you go to the doctor and test this thing, and of course, they show the levels are off, the TSH or the T3 and T4, high or low or whatever, and they start medicating you instead of getting the power supply fixed. This is our secret, if you will, and it's not some weird secret that nobody's talking about. This is the foundation for what we call real, principled, 100% pure chiropractic. The Hooten technique, if you will. I don't subscribe to any type of symptom treatment. I'm not going to, if you come in with a thyroid problem, headaches and sleeplessness, testosterone, look, I'm not going to treat that. I'm not going to treat the symptom. What I'm going to do is help you establish your own power supply to get to your body. And then what will happen? So let's take the rose bushes again. So if the rose bushes or your thyroid has been withering for years and you've been taking this medication or not, or maybe you're just suffering, well, then you reestablish the water supply to the plant. What starts happening to the plant? The leaves will begin to regenerate. Maybe you trim off the dark ones, the ones that are dead, but they begin to regenerate whole. And before long, maybe over the next weeks, maybe the next months, and even a year, your garden is now flourishing. Your body is exactly the same. Whether you're dealing with a thyroid issue, sleep problems, any other type of hormone issue, you have to establish that water supply, or the nerve supply, if you will. So you'll hear me use that analogy all the time. In fact, people in here all the time, they're asking me, hey, my body's going through this, and I say, well, are you taking care of your water supply? Are you taking care of your nerve supply? And they'll say yes, and I'll go through what they're doing, what they need to be doing more of, but it's all about getting that right. And that is the secret formula, and people heal all the time. I don't tell them to come off their medication. That's not even my place. If they want to come off their medication, there is a path to do that, but you need to take control of that. See, the TV and all the drug advertisements, they say, go talk to your doctor. Don't quit this medication without talking to your doctor. Talk to your doctor, talk to your doctor, talk to your doctor. Well, they're being told what to do by the drug companies, and they're held to some weird standard by Texas law or wherever you live into following the letter of the law. And if they start veering away from that, you better believe the target gets on their back. Well, I'm not even gonna get involved in that. My job is to take you and give you authority over this so that you have control. You don't have to go talk to anybody. If you're over 18 years old, there is no police force that's going to show up to your door if you decide to change your life and quit taking thyroid medication or quit taking your blood pressure medicine. Nobody's going to come and get you for that. But you have to take care of yourself. I'm not saying be flippant about it. So your spine is first. Then you add in some proper nutrition. And in the case of your thyroid, it needs a lot of iodine. Eileen, if you watched our podcast last episode, she was, her child, what a fantastic story. Her child was developmentally delayed and early on in school, and he started getting adjusted, and he caught up, and now he's in honors class. It's fantastic. Well, she herself has also she was losing her hair. And that's a common thing when somebody's thyroid is slowing down. Well, she knew better than to get on the medication, so we were trying all this stuff. She was getting adjusted really well, but her body was sorely deficient in iodine. So once she was getting adjusted, started adding some iodine in, now her hair is coming back in full, and it's, she's just showing me all the time. She's pulling this. It's awesome. It's not falling out anymore. You can do that, but you have to change your lifestyle. So number one, mentally, take charge. You are in control. Don't turn it over. Don't turn your life over. Don't turn your thyroid over to some doctor and their drug companies. That is not going to end well. Number two, start taking care of your spine, and that's where we come in. So your first appointment with me will last about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I'm going to walk you through this whole thing. Before I take x-rays, before I lay hands on you and try to treat you, you're going to understand exactly what is going on, because that's the first thing. You have to take authority over this. You have to understand what's happening with your body. Then we're going to start getting pressure off your spine. Now, if you're wondering, well, what if I don't have a problem in my spine? Listen, folks, in 23 years, and I don't know how many 150,000 x-rays, I've seen two with what I would call a perfect spine. 2 in 23 years. So if you have any issue in there, that's a kink in your hose, and slowly but surely your body is going down, whether it's your thyroid or anything. So I'll show you that, and it'll be obvious on the x-rays. It's not going to be one of these things like, what am I looking at, doc? I'm going to show you. We got, the whole thing. It's just digital. It's right there in front of you. And before we do anything, you're going to know exactly what's going on. We're actually going to give you a copy of your x-rays so you can memorize it, because you're going to have home care to do. So then I'm going to take you in, get some pressure off your spine with a gentle adjustment. Now, if you've been around here at all, if you're in here watching, some people, when I adjust them, it's really hard. Others, like babies, it's really easy, and anywhere in between. So you may see, if you watch some of our videos, you may see me do this pull thing. Not everybody has to get that, but the people that do, in fact, the guy behind the camera right now, I pull on his head with that device, and there's a real technical term for that. How does that feel when I do that to you, Andy? Yeah, it's amazing, because the after effect is your guard and your body is getting all this nerve supply. But like I said, don't be afraid of any of that. I did want to touch on this. I had somebody the other day ask me, he had a surgery on his back before he started. And he said, is this safe to do because I've had a surgery? And I told him, well, number one, I have a specialty in this. If you've already dealt with a neck surgery or back surgery or whatever, I have multiple certifications in what to do for that type of spine, and we can help you. If I can't help you, I'll tell you immediately. But it's very safe, and to this point, if you're afraid of coming in because you're worried about some sort of danger of getting adjusted, maybe you've heard something or read something, listen, last year, my malpractice insurance policy, which is set up to cover the danger that I pose, was $1,800, might have been $2,000, for the whole year. Now contrast that to an orthopedic surgeon who's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to cover all the lawsuits that they get. OBGYNs have a very high malpractice policy because of the danger that they represent. Mine, $2,000 a year, come on, that means that there's no danger. And if you do have some high risk thing, I'll be able to find it, and then we'll treat you appropriately. So don't let fear keep you out of here. In fact, think about the joy that'll happen if you start getting your spine flowing and your garden, including your thyroid, and all your other hormones start flourishing, what that would feel like, what life will be like when you start doing that. So remember, the message is always the same. Drugs are bad. God is great, and so are you. Call us up, find us. We'll walk you through it. Talk to you next time.